Let's make some pulled pork. Remember to like and subscribe to this channel. Today we're using a bone-in Boston butt. You take a paper towel and dab off any excess moisture so when you get ready to put the binder on, it holds. You see the fat cap on the bottom? That right there is going to be used for moisture, and it also is going to keep it nice and juicy and make sure that it doesn't burn. You can see we have a bone-in. Takes a little bit longer to cook usually, but it also helps with the moisture process as well. Now, first thing we're going to do is look at the seasoning that we have here. I used the legs seasoning today. You can make your own if you want. Then also had a pre-mixed apple juice, apple cider, and you can use whatever you want as far as injection, and you really don't necessarily need it. But for the process of the video, I wanted to show you guys how it's done. Now I have a heavy duty injector. You can use the ones you use for Thanksgiving to inject the turkey, but for stuff like this, sometimes it's easier to use, but ultimately it'll be up to you depending on what you choose. Now you want to give it a generous amount of injection because you want to make sure that it stays moist during the cooking process. It's going to cook for hours, so you don't necessarily have to worry about that, but you do want to make sure that it's moist at the end of the process. You can see as I keep injecting, you can actually see some of the juice coming out of it. That lets you know that it's getting to where it needs to be. And you want to just keep doing that, continuously doing that over and over again. You want to make sure that you don't pierce the bottom of it because you want to make sure that it's actually going into the meat itself. Okay. You also want to do the sides. Some people neglect to do that, but if you turn it to the side, make sure that you're getting it all the way through that meat to give it a nice injection. This particular one has 4 different holes on it. So each time I'm injecting, it's shooting it all the way through that piece of meat, which is something that you need to do because you want to make sure that it's super moist. I can't emphasize that enough because you run into so many people all the time that cook pork butts. If they cook them too long, then it's not moist. But this particular one turned out fantastic. And I want you guys to be able to do the same thing that I did here in the video. Okay. So once you're getting close to getting it nice and injected and you're getting everything that you need, the next step is going to be getting everything ready for the binder and the seasoning. Now, some people like to put cuts in the back of the butt there. It just helps with cooking it faster. Sometimes I do it, sometimes I don't. I'm just showing you the actual technique that you want to do. You go one way, then you go the other way. I didn't do it for this video, but it works the same. Now, a binder we're going to use today is going to be just mustard. Any type of mustard will do. You want to be generous with the mustard. You want to rub it in real good. That's why I have gloves on. Sometimes you don't have to use gloves, but sometimes I like to use them just because it's a lot of different things and doing a lot of cross-contamination. And with the seasonings and all the other things, it just kind of begins to get a lot going on. So just yellow mustard. Some people use mayo. Other people have used Worcestershire sauce. I mean, it's whatever you choose to do for a binder. You really just want to make sure that the seasoning that you put on is sticking on, okay? Now, I'm doing all sides. I even do the back of it just to make sure that the seasoning sticks on that as well. And then it also is going to help just with the seasoning process at the end because this is a big piece of meat. A lot of people feel that sometimes it looks like it's way too much seasoning on there, but believe you me, at the end of the cook, it is not too much seasoning. Some people actually sometimes say it needs more. So you want to do an even layer of seasoning. You can get like a shaker if you prefer to do that. Sometimes that makes it easier. But, I've been doing this so long that sometimes I just like to do it however I want to do it. And sometimes I change it up. Now I'm doing a layer of brown sugar as well. That's going to add a sweetness. Then it's also going to help give it a bark because you want to make sure that it's giving it that dark bark over the top of it, which is going to do nothing but add to the flavor. And when you chop it up, you just chopped up that bark right in there with that meat, and it gives it that smoky flavor, sweet flavor with a little bit of heat on top of it. So with that being said, you can add in a little bit of red pepper. This particular seasoning had a little bit of red pepper in there, so I didn't necessarily need it, but you can always add more depending on your taste. Just be mindful, because sometimes if you add too much pepper, it may be too hot for your guests. Not everyone likes that. And especially if you're doing like a catering or something like that, you just want to make sure that you know what the customer wants or what the people who are coming over to your home wants before you start doing that in preparation. So you want to make sure that you get all those sides done, and you're going to give it a generous layer. And you can see it's a lot of seasoning going on top of there, because when that gets on there, it's going to soak in and it's going to give it like a nice caramelization. You want to pat it down to make sure that that seasoning is sticking well to the meat. And then once again, you're going to add another nice layer of brown sugar right on top of that. Now, like I said before, that brown sugar is going to help with the caramelization, and it also is going to help with the bark. And that just helps with the cook when you're doing that. And then you're also going to be able to help that bark out by using like a spray on top of it. Now, you don't want to spray. You want to have a spritzer, because you don't want to knock the seasoning off the top of it, but you just want to continue to give it moisture and continue to help to get that bark where you want it at. Okay? As you can see, it's on the grill now. It's ready. Today we're doing a barrel cook, which is kind of cool. I enjoy using my barrel from time to time. Then you're going to wrap it up. Once you wrap it up, you want to wrap it up at probably about 165 to 170. I did it earlier. I didn't show you that part of the process. Leave it back on there till about 205. And then look at how juicy this nice thing is. You can see the juice in the bottom of that foil as I'm taking it out. It is so nice and juicy. And taking it on out, and now it's time for the part that we love, the unveiling. Now, it didn't give it a real dark bark, as you can see, but it did give it a nice hard coating that's giving it a nice red color, and that came from the type of wood that I used. And now, let's see if it's tender. Trying to get that bone out of there. This is always the test. If you can get that bone clean and it comes right out, then you know you did something right. I did let it rest for about 45 minutes before I did this. You can let it rest longer, but for the process of the video, I needed to get it done. So as you can see, it's still hot. Just look at that. That bone is nice and clean. Now, real barbecue people, y'all know what this process is. You take that bone, see if it's tender. Look at that. That is what you call perfection. See, that's what we wanted. We wanted to make sure that it's nice and tender. It's coming up, chopping up real good. And then it depends on how you want to do it. You can make it pulled pork. You can make it chopped pork, whether you're doing sandwiches, whether you're doing nachos, whatever it is that you want to do. You can put it in like a tortilla. And at that point in time, it's whatever you want. But look at that. It doesn't get too much better. Where's barbecue? The best you'll ever taste.